Honourable Members, prayers. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favour upon this Parliament of the Youth Government System of the International Youth Network for UN Security Council, Resolution 2250. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the youth president and his youth ministers. Endow youth members of Parliament with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of this network, the interests and wishes of members may be well and truly served, and their good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. O God, grant us a vision of our network, fair as it might be, a network of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a network of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a network of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service and honor shall be given to the deserving, a network of peace, where the youth government system shall rest on the will of its members and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of the youth government system of the International Youth Network, Ghana and Africa. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Honourable members, may I welcome you all to the 7th sitting of the first session of the second Parliament of the Youth Government System of the International Youth Network for UN Security Council, Resolution 2250. We do not have any message from the global president or the country head. May I introduce to the House the incumbent youth president, who is in the person of Osajefo, Mr. Siaw. Although I have not informed him, he should prepare a message for the House. The House has been yielding to hear from him, so I know I've caught him off guard, but he should just prepare some message. His MPs are calling to hear from him. Honourable members, communication from the Speaker. I welcome you once again to today's sitting, and it's evident that the Youth Parliament is active, as this is the 7th time we are sitting since our inauguration on the 2nd of August 2025. Honourable members, restructuring is currently ongoing though, but the Parliament is still at work, and we'll be forming our committees very soon. Regardless, we still have an opportunity to deliberate and take a decision and change lives as a House. As we are gathered here today to debate the motion on Africa's growth on youth representation, population, and development as an asset and its security threat, I call on all members to thoroughly debate this to ensure that our discussions are fruitful and can yield to a change. If our debate is done well, we can, as a matter of fact, share this with the Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment. So I call on members to come in prepared to share their opinion and facts on the subject matter. Honourable members, the business for today is short. We'll receive a statement or the business committee statement, if it is ready, from the majority leader. I don't know whether he's present. As I've already indicated.
No, please, he's not present.
Oh, okay. Okay. Um. Okay. I've been informed the youth president will be speaking on the motion. Yes, we'll have him speak on the motion as well. We just want to hear a short address from him to the parliament, and then later on, when we start the debate on the motion, we would hear him over there as well. So after the address from the youth president, we'll go straight to debate the motion. These are the business for the day, and if honourable members want to add on to the business, you can raise your hand and I'll call you. Okay, I don't think there are any contributions on the business for the day. So, honourable members, just as I've stated, we'll go as such. The main business for today is the debate on this motion. So, although it seems too early, with all due respect, allow me to call to the podium the youth president of the youth government system to quickly brief us since assumption of office. This will be his maiden speech to the House. But it wasn't an organized speech, so kindly forgive him if he makes it very short. Later on, we'll receive him for the State of the Youth Government address. Today is just more of an inaugural speech from him since he has assumed office. So, Your Excellency, let's hear you for just a short period. Thank you.
All right. Good day to you all. I don't know whether you can hear me. Please, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, you can hear you, sir.
Okay. So I'm glad to be here, and I really appreciate the immense contribution you are making as young adults, particularly of the youth governance system, and for the fact that all this while we've been meeting on regular basis to deliberate on matters pertaining to national development and African well-being at large. I want to commend the Right Honourable Speaker, the honourable members of the House, and the various stakeholders and the workers who are making this a success.
Is it just my network, please? I can't
Much
hear.
of despite the rising levels. Can you hear me?
Okay, we
Yes, we
lost you a
can.
bit, please.
Oh, okay. So I wanted to touch a little bit on the motion for today. But before that, I think the Right Honourable Speaker made it clear that some changes and other stuff are being made underground or behind the scene, and to be brought to all of us our attention. Okay, so going straight to the motion, which says that the Honourable House believes that Africa's growing youth population is more of a developmental asset than a security threat, despite the rising level of unemployment across the continent. In view of that, Right Honourable Speaker, honourable members of this distinguished House, esteemed partners and my fellow young Africans, on this very occasion, I rise not only to support this motion, but to deepen the very understanding of its agency and its opportunity. That Africa stands as a defining crossroads in history. Okay, and our continent is experiencing what scholars and then most policymakers describe as a youth belch. That is a period in which the proportion of young people within the population is significantly higher than that of the older generations. And in most cases, this phenomenon is neither accidental nor permanent. It is a once in a century demographic window that can propel Africa towards sustainable development, or if mismanaged, prolonged cycles of instability. I know I'm supposed to come in again later, but Right Honourable Speaker, if you permit me in a much more humble manner to deliver my speech, I'll be on the call, but I need to also attend something else for the global president. I don't know if I'm permitted to do so.
Yeah, please carry on.
All right, thank you. So, Right Honourable Speaker, it is imperative to state clearly that a youth build is not inherently dangerous. It becomes dangerous only when leadership fails to convert population strength into productive capacity. So that when statistically youth build becomes a foundation of rapid economic growth, social innovation, democratic renewal, and a long-term peace. Honorable members, Africa's youth build represents a vast labor force, an expanding consumer market, and an unprecedented pool of creativity. So that young people are the most adaptable segment of the society. We learn fast, innovate quicker, and respond more effectively to technological change. So that in an era driven by digital economies, artificial intelligence, renewable energy, agribusiness modernization, and creative industries, Africa's youth are not latecomers. They are natural drivers of these sectors. Right Honorable Speaker, empirical evidence from regions that successfully transformed their youth bulge into demographic dividends, particularly parts of the East Asia. If I mention names like the Chinese, the South Korea, the Singapores, and so on, demonstrate that the youth-centered investments yield exponential returns. So that increased productivity, reduced dependency ratios, and higher national savings all follow when young people are educated, employed, and empowered. In view of that, Africa therefore does not suffer from youth surplus. Africa suffers from what we mostly know as opportunity deficit. Honorable members, once again, security concerns often arise where youth are excluded from economic participation and political decision making. So that unemployment alone does not create insecurity, rather hopelessness does so. When young people see no pathway to dignity, no voice in governance, and no reward for innovation, frustration festers. But when youth are engaged as partners, as emphasized under the United Nations Security Council Resolution 2250, they become the strongest defenders of peace and cohesion and national development. Right Honorable Speaker, the importance of the youth bulge extends beyond economic and security. It's central to democratic sustainability so that young people inject fresh ideas into governance, challenge outmoded systems, and demand accountability. A youthful population that is civically conscious strengthens institutions and safeguards democracy against authoritarian decline. Distinguished members, while governments and institutions must act decisively, young people themselves must also recognize the power of their movements. The youth build is not a guarantee of success. It is an opportunity that must be seized. An African youth must move beyond a culture of dependency to one of agency, innovation, and collective responsibility. Hence, this generation must acquire relevant skills, embrace entrepreneurship, leverage digital platforms, and build a cross-border network that reflects Africa's shared dignity. Right, Honourable Speaker, young people must understand that demographic strength translates into bargaining power, and a large, informed, and organized youth population can influence policy, shape markets, and redefine leadership norms. Youth must therefore engage governance processes, demand accountability, and occupy spaces of decision making, such as this very one, and not as spectators, but architects of the future, starting from their very own lives. Honourable members, the Youth Belge also places a moral responsibility on today's youth to become peace builders rather than the spoilers. Violence, extremism, and criminality may offer short-term escape, but they ultimately undermine the very future young people seek. So that true empowerment lies in building systems, not bending them, and in reforming institutions, not abandoning them. In conclusion, Right Honourable Speaker, Africa's youth belt is the single greatest strategic advantage our continent possesses in this very 21st century. So that if aligned with visionary leadership, inclusive policies, and a conscious, organized youth movement, it will deliver prosperity, peace, and global relevance. And if ignored, it will become a missed opportunity history will never forget. I therefore urge this Honourable House to affirm this motion unequivocally, and I call on Africa's youth to arise with purpose, discipline, and unity, to turn their numbers into influence, their energy into enterprise, and their aspiration into action. Africa's future is young, and that Africa must be built by youth who understand the power of their time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, the Youth President, for killing two birds with one stone. Honourable Minority Leader, I think you wanted to make a comment.
Right, Honourable Speaker, I was only trying to seek your guidance or something, but I think I'll hold on to that for now.
Yes, he explained that he would have to attend to another urgent business. Due to that, he will not be around during the debate. That is why he wants to share his take on the debate at once. I'm sure that was what he wanted to seek guidance on. So thank you very much, Your Excellency, for gracing this occasion. We look forward to receiving you for your first state of the youth address as the youth president, and we hope that that will be done when you have gotten your set of youth ministers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'll be on the call as and when I'm needed and I'm available. I'll attend to your call.
Okay. Thank you very much. Honourable members, as I already communicated, our main business for today is to debate the motion. That is why we are here. The first deputy speaker is on the floor, so when we get to the motion, he will take the chair and preside over the house. Deputy Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker.
Can you move the motion for us to debate the general motion?
Okay, thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker. I welcome all of us this evening to debate such a crucial matter. Indeed, Africa's population is not supposed to threaten us, and so we should look at it from the perspective of it being an asset that can protect security. And so on that note, I move the motion for this August House to debate or to start the debate. Thank you.
Thank you. Seconder, Minority Leader.
Yeah, thank you very much, the Right Honourable Speaker. In fact, we look forward to a very fruitful engagement this afternoon, evening, if you will. Well, I wouldn't say much, but let me just second the motion ably moved by the Deputy Majority Leader for the House to carry. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honourable Members, motion moved and seconded is now for the debates of the House. Honourable First Deputy Speaker to take the chair. Deputy Majority Leader, opening statement. 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Akowua Siaw, the Youth MP for the good people of Anglo constituency. Some few weeks ago, or last month, there were some tidal issues in my constituency, but we appreciate the intervention of our hardworking President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, for his intervention and his visitation to inspire hope into the lives of the affected communities and the individuals in that community. And Right Honourable Speaker, I, on this note, give the opening statement as the Deputy Majority Leader of this August House. Right Honourable Speaker, distinguished Honourable Members of this August House, I rise today to contribute to the motion that Africa's growing population is more of a developmental asset than a security threat, despite Speaker, Africa is currently the youngest continent in the world, blessed with millions of energetic, creative, innovative, and resilient young people. This demographic reality should not be viewed with fear, but rather a strategic opportunity for economic transformation, technological advancement, entrepreneurship, and sustainable development. Indeed, unemployment among youth remains a serious challenge across many African states. However, unemployment itself is not proof that youth are a threat. Rather, it reflects gaps in policy implementation, inadequate investment in education and skills development, limited industrialization, and insufficient support for innovation and entrepreneurship. Honourable Members, history has shown us that nations that effectively harness the potential of their youth achieve accelerated growth and national progress. Africa's youth are driving digital innovation, agribusiness transformation, climate advocacy, creative arts, political participation across the continent, from startups to social enterprises. Young Africans are proving daily that they are builders of the future, not destroyers of society. Mr. Speaker, the responsibility therefore lies with government institutions, stakeholders to create an enabling environment that empower the youth through quality education, decent jobs, access to finance, mentorship, and inclusive governance. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I firmly believe that Africa's growing youth population is a developmental asset whose immense potential far outweighs the security concerns associated with unemployment. The solution is not fear for the youth, but to invest in them. And Right Honourable Speaker, before I resume my seat, I would want to cite the case of South African youths with respect to the recent and the ongoing xenophobia act in South Africa. Mr. Speaker, to an extent, we look at it from the perspective of the division of the African continent that happened at Berlin. Mr. Speaker, because of that, South Africans see Ghanaians, see Nigerians as different people. If we had one continent, as the founder of this nation said in his book, Africa Must Unite. Today, what we see in South Africa, where youths are attacking other youths from sister continents, Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure history today will record that. But Mr. Speaker, I would want to point out that the problem of South African youths looking at youths of other nations in the context of they taking their jobs, Mr. Speaker, I want to use this platform to say that they should invest that energy, that voice into advocacy, that governments will invest more and expand access to job than what is happening in South Africa. Mr. Speaker, on this note, I humbly entreat my minority leader, Honourable Isaac, to join us and agree on this motion. I know he doesn't have a different opinion, if not for the fact that he had to, at a point in time, rebut and all others. But I believe that tonight we will all get to that point where we will agree on one statement as we draw the curtains. Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity.
Minority Leader.
Thank you very Thank you very much, the Right Honourable Speaker in the House. Well, I think that majority of my work has been done by the Deputy Majority Leader. Of course, if you listen to him carefully in his opening remarks, you could tell that there is no way we are going to take his advice that this House should accept such a motion. And just for the purposes of emphasis, Mr. Speaker, permit me to restate the motion that is before us. And it reads that this Honourable House believes that Africa's growing youth population is more of a developmental asset than a security threat, despite the rising levels of youth unemployment across the continent. In fact, Mr. Speaker, if you look at this motion carefully, there are some key terms we need to understand if you're really going to debate this and debate this soundly. And the first of which I want to start, and I am disappointed that the Deputy Majority Leader comes to this House, a motion that they brought to us. He is unable to tell us some of the key things that the motion has, explanation to some of these key things, and why he believes that we have to accept and adopt this motion. And I'm terribly disappointed, but that's besides the point. When we talk about youthful population, what are we talking about? We are looking at UN definition. You're looking at somewhere 15 to 35 years. That's undebatable. So put that aside. Now, we are saying developmental asset. When we say something is an asset, developmental asset at that, what are we looking at? Any resource or group or factor that positively contributes to economic growth, number one, and is able to contribute to social progress, innovation, productivity, and national development. These things must be in place for you to classify a group of people as a developmental asset. Now, I'll come back to this in a bit, but let's talk about security threat, because that is also a part of the motion. When we talk about threat to security, we are looking at any condition at all, that's the definition, any condition or factor that increases instability, violence, crime, extremism, conflict, public insecurity. And in fact, the list goes on. And I am delighted that he talked about South Africa and the xenophobic attack. excuse me, talked about South Africa and the xenophobic attack. He made mention of the fact that the reason this is happening is because the youth in South Africa believe that the Ghanaian there are taking their jobs and all of that. That is unemployment there, displaying the fact that the youth are unemployed, it has the possibility or has the potential of causing some sort of violence and conflict. And that is a security threat. And so it goes on to just diffuse the fact that you cannot say that the fact that the population of a country is growing, and even though the people are unemployed, you cannot say that it's a security threat, and so we should consider it a developmental asset. How? Mr. Speaker, I'll get back to that. Now, let me talk about youth unemployment a bit. When we talk about youth unemployment, you're looking at a situation where young people are willing to work, yet cannot find work to do. I don't even want to come to the context of Ghana and speak about how people are crazy about getting jobs to do and they can't even get the jobs to do. Jobs that even with their qualifications that they have are way below their pedigree, but they can't even find those works to do. And we sit here, we want this house to believe that a population, just because it's growing, and even though you have people who are unemployed, you want to say that it's not a security threat but a developmental threat. Now, let me get to my point. Now that we have understood some of the key terms in the debate or in the motion, number one, developmental assets. You're looking at any resource or group of people that are able to contribute economically to the progress of a society or of a group of people. And number two, when you are talking about security threats, you're looking at anything, any condition at all that is capable of causing violence or instability. Mr. Speaker, and I can tell you on authority that when you look at the African continent, it's no doubt, and I agree with the Deputy Majority Leader on this one, that the African continent is a young population. That's a fact, undebatable. But yes, the point is, even though we are young, how many of our people are employed? What is the unemployment rate? If you take South Africa, for instance, in fact, let's not even go to South Africa. Come to Ghana, Accra alone. Unemployment rate is hitting 50%. That is worrying, and they tell you that because of that, you have the susceptibility to having a lot of violence and extremism in the country. And I want to sit here and say that we have young people who are unemployed, and because they have the potential and because they have the what have you not, they have innovation, blah, blah, blah. And so we should consider them as developmental assets. Let me shock you that just because you have potential to doing something doesn't mean that that potential is being used to the benefit of anybody. A young guy is sitting there, he's a good engineer, he studied abroad, has all the certificate and all the knowledge, yet is unemployed and has not been able to deploy that knowledge to any useful venture to help the economy. We want to say that just because the person is an engineer, is contributing to the country's development in what way? That is a security threat, because that engineer sitting down there, if anybody walks to that person and says that, oh, you're a great engineer, yet you're not getting job, I have, just do this wrong thing for me, quote and unquote, and I'll give you this amount of money. That person is susceptible to it because the person is not having a job, and you don't have a job. The one you have, whatever gives you money, you want to embrace it. And that's a fact across the globe. We've seen instances where young people are recruited into violent activities, into you want to talk about Boko Haram, you want to talk about what? All these terrorist groups and all of that. Where do they get the people from? These are young people who are not getting jobs, who are hungry, that are able to get themselves, kind of recruited into some of these things. And so I am disappointed for us to come here and be thinking that just because Africa's population is growing and hitting whatever, we are expecting to hit somewhat. Is it 1.5 billion or whatsoever by 2050? We are just growing in numbers. In fact, I am a student of international relations and in fact, let me not even go there. Every student of social studies basic social studies, that the strength of a country is not dependent on its population. No, that it is dependent on the quality of the population. So if you have 50 million people, the question is, how useful are these people? How resourceful are they? And so you don't say because you are increasing in population, blah, 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 you are hitting the millions and billions. And so because of that, you are developing. If you want to talk about development, how many countries are less than, how many countries do we have that are below the population of 30 million or 33 million that Ghana has now, that are doing way better in terms of economy than us. And we want to sit here and say that because we are more in numbers. So, Mr. Speaker, our position on this matter is clear. The minority rejects this and rejects it wholeheartedly, with full chest. We cannot accept that just because the population on the African continent is growing and growing increasingly, like, how do I call it, exponentially, and for that matter, we should consider it a developmental asset. In fact, we should be more worried that this is a security threat more than it is a developmental asset. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Thank you very much, the Minority Leader.
Yeah.
Honourable members, the floor is now open for contributions. Please raise your hand and I'll call you. Yes, the floor is open for contributions on the motion. Please raise your hand and I'll call you. Yes, Honourable Julius Agua.
Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I want to use this opportunity to entreat all my colleagues that let us not panic about the topic. Let's engage in this discussion and get to that consensus. I know how eloquent my minority leader can be when he tried to take us, but Right Honourable Speaker, if our minority leader is telling us today that a growing population should not be seen as a development asset, then what else can we look at it to be? Is he trying to say that him, Honorable Isaac, a young man in this country, just because today he doesn't have a job, and then anybody who comes to him to say, let's engage in this act, he's going to do that? No, Right Honourable Speaker, my minority leader, on the basis for which I know him, will not do that. And if I should look at it from that perspective, then I can also look at the larger population from that same perspective. And so I don't see him as a security threat today just because he is not working, just because he is unemployed, or just because he is a youth. No, let us not label our brothers and sisters as threats to ourselves. Him and myself are developmental assets to this state. That is why in my presentation, in my earlier presentation, I said no. When the right investment is made in these youths, and Mr. Speaker, today we can say in Ghana that this government had rolled out the Ejuma program. This government, even university students who are in business on university campuses, they have launched what they call the seed program. The seed program that is supposed to support students who are business owners. And let's look at the tangent this government is taking this youth serious. Even when you are not yet, even when you are yet to graduate, they have a package for you to support your business. And so anybody who will be seen as a threat as a youth is a lazy person who doesn't want to use his hands to work. So, Right Honourable Speaker, my able minority leader should understand this, that we are assets of development. We are assets to development. A nation without population cannot grow. A nation without population cannot grow. Right Honourable Speaker, recently I heard of Asia, and what I saw in the news was that looking at their young population, there is an undulation, in the sense that the working population in Asia at the moment is dwindling. And so they are worried. And if we, Africa is blessed with our population, what we need is for us to be invested in and not to see ourselves as threats to security. On this note, I humbly entreat my colleague members to join this conversation once we get to the bottom of this matter. I also want to welcome the majority leader of this August House, Honourable Samson Sechofia. I humbly want to welcome him. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, any other comments? Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Thank you very much. I just like to respond to just a few things that the Deputy Majority Leader just raised. In fact, you see, okay, let me just get straight to it. There is this report that was written by United Nations Development Program, UNDP. In 2023, they did a certain research. And the title of that research, I'm giving the title out so honourable members can verify. It says Journey to Extremism in Africa, Pathways to Recruitment and Disengagement. This was done in 2023. The report is there. When you go to their website, you can find it. The key findings of this particular report tells you that about 40% of people who were recruited into violence and extremist activities were people who were in need of money. How do you get money? When you get job to do. No doubt about that. And about 25% were people who talked directly about lack of job opportunities as their primary reason for joining this violent and extremist group. Put the two together, you're looking at some 65% of the sample population that the UNDP used in terms of this particular research to tell you that income, survival, depending on the job they are getting, the employment opportunities, the avenues to express their potential and all of that, that is non-existent, is why they found themselves in some of these activities. And I hear the Deputy Majority Leader say that he talked about the fact that we have to create opportunities for these people so that we can tap into their potential, and that is why they are developmental assets. Yes, I agree with you perfectly, but until we are able to do that, they are not. They are not developmental assets until we are able to tap into their potentials. Until then, they are serious security threats to us, and we have to begin to tell ourselves the honest truth and begin to look at things from that point. Until we do that, we'll be here deceiving ourselves and hallucinating and thinking that just because the kinky woman has carried her kinky in the bowl and put by the roadside there, the one who is hungry and has no money to go and buy it, the person is okay or is satisfied, or how do I put it? It is good just because there is a kinky seller. We are not looking at the fact that the person is unable to afford. The person cannot afford it. So if the person cannot afford it, would you say that the person is satisfied? That is the point we are making. Just because you have the potential, yes, you have the potential, you are this, you are a graduate, you are blah, 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 you are a carpenter, you have the art, you have the skill. The fact that you have that alone is not enough. Until we have the opportunities to express this, please, we are not developing anything. We are just adding to the numbers, and in the long run, becoming some serious security threats to the country, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Daniel Kaku.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon to the House. Permit me to say a very big thank you to the Minority Leader and the whole Minority Caucus. Let me go straight to the point. With this motion, we can see today that our Honourable Deputy Majority Leader is a bit fumbling with what he is saying. Why? Because he knows definitely that what he is saying carry a little weight against what the Minority Leader has put across. Why do I say so? We all know in this country or in this continent that most people who are migrating from the global south to the global north or even to the global south again are doing this because they are looking for what? The greener pastures. Not all of them, or majority of them that are migrating from the global south to the global north are doing so because they are looking for a greener pasture. And what is a greener pasture? A job, a lucrative job. Most have the certificates, but what is the certificate when it is not in use? What is your career when there is nobody to render your career to? Therefore, we are simply migrating. And what happens when when those who don't have the opportunity to migrate, those who don't have the financial capacity to migrate, what happens to them? Let me come back to the technology side of this story. There is something we call ethical hackers. These ethical hackers are well-trained people who find vulnerabilities in people's systems, clouds. When I say systems, I mean technological systems, businesses, programs, websites that have been developed. These people are trained, ethically certified to find vulnerabilities, and those companies hire them to find vulnerabilities in their system, and they get paid for this. What happens if these people get no job? What happens when these people are not too ethical enough? These are some of the people who become what we call threat actors. And who are threat actors? Threat actors are unethical hackers. They sit behind the system, hack people just to get their credentials, blackmail them, get money from them, extort money from them. There is something we call phishing. They use this system to get financial remunerations. Most of our fraudsters in this planet, or most of our fraudsters, let's come back to just to Africa. Most of our fraudsters are doing this not because they just wake up one day and decide to be fraudsters. But most of them are doing this because they have become frustrated with the system to the extent that they have the qualifications, they have the capacity to work, yet there is no work to do. Mr. Speaker, on this note, you cannot tell me that unemployment is not a threat to our national security. On this note, I will not go far. I will just invite our majority caucus to understand the point that popularity is not quality. Quality is different from quantity. Let's look at Singapore, for example. Singapore was not what it is today. But today, if you go to Singapore, in fact, you will be happy you are in a country. Let's come just to Rwanda. Rwanda, our own Rwanda here. Rwanda wasn't like that, but it took efforts of good leaders and what? And proactive citizens, which is not something that has to be linked to popularity or quantity of citizens. It's all bound down to what? The quality of workforce in the system, availability of jobs, availability of career. Not everybody is blessed to be an entrepreneur. You can be an entrepreneur and fail because that is not what you are called to do at that moment of time. You need to learn for some time. That is why we have apprenticeship program. That is why even career people do internship. Career people do volunteerism. These are all ways to learn. That is why you cannot just jump into entrepreneurship straightforward. So if you don't have anything tangible to do, there is a popular saying that's what? The devil finds work for the idle hand. And this is no joke. This is no joke. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I just invite the majority caucus to liaise with us, the minority caucus, in accepting that quality is far different from quantity, and therefore unavailability of jobs to the youth of Africa is sincerely a national threat to the continent. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rest my case.
Honourable Emmanuel also.
All right, thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker. Good evening, House. I want to thank my Honourable Minority Leader and the Chief Whip for the Minority Caucus so much for such, profound comments and statements you've relayed this evening. Like my leaders already made mention, we cannot overemphasize quality over quantity, in a sense that this House, the motion for the House today that has been clearly established. There is no way we can call Africa's population, youth population, as a developmental asset at the expense of the gaps and the limitations that it brings, instead of calling it a security threat. Yes, it is indeed a security threat, of which my leaders have already made mention. Unemployment cannot be overemphasized in this, African continent concerning our youth. Realize that the United Nations for Population Fund, UNFPA, has already established that 60% of the youth in Africa is unemployed. Yeah, when you go to African countries like Nigeria, Somalia, all these African countries are recruiting, idle youth that are not making any meaning for their lives into things that becomes a threat to the continent of Africa. They already stated it. My honorable my able minority leader stated it about the groups, the Boko Haram, and all that you can think of. So it stands to reason that you actually cannot eat potential. The fact that we are a developmental asset does not mean we can actually rely on it. If the developmental asset does not bring any better thing to the youth, then the alternative is to go into the extremists of it, which is entering into gangs and all other social vices, of which we don't want to incur. So it is very, very important that we address the unemployment issue concerning the African continent, the African youth. And if we are able to do that, that is when the developmental part of it, that asset that we are calling it, becomes an advantageous thing to the continent. If not, then we are just beating about the bush without tackling the real issue, which is the unemployment rate that it brings to we all. Thank you, sir.
Honourable Julius Agoa.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity. Honourable Speaker, I believe that the whole House can agree with me that the minority leader, after his statement and after the supporting statement of his two colleagues, they are misleading the whole House. Honourable Speaker, why did I say this? My honourable members at the other side of the House are trying to say that unemployment is the problem, is the only security problem we have. And so, because if people are unemployed, then they will engage in violence. And so, these people are becoming threats rather than developmental assets. Honourable Speaker, why should we think that way? Honourable Speaker, let me cite the instance of this country, right, Honourable Speaker, if my people or if the minority is still insisting that only unemployment could be a security threat, let me say this, right, Honourable Speaker, in 2025 alone, Ghana Statistical Service stated that in 2025, from the first quarter to the second quarter down to the third quarter, about 13.0, okay, 12.8 to 13.0 figure indicates that unemployment rate is declining. So the unemployment rate that President Mahama met when he took over, within a year, there is a decline of 12.8%. I also want to state that when the second speaker who spoke after the minority leader, I'm sorry, Honourable, I wouldn't be able to mention your name clearly. When he was about to conclude his statement, he mentioned that bad leadership remains one of the reasons why our youths are not employed. So, Mr. Speaker, I don't know which side they are standing. If it is leadership, job, unemployment, I don't know. They are just going back and forth. But Honourable Speaker, he also mentioned Singapore that he is talking about, Rwanda that he is talking about. When they started seeing their youth as developmental assets and they are investing in them, that nation witnessed a significant growth. And that is what is happening in Ghana. Our leadership in Ghana today have seen these young men to be developmental assets. Now, when we are talking about unemployment as a reason for which our young people will engage in violence, it is not the people. So it is not Honourable Isaac, it's not Honourable Daniel, it is a system failure. And so let's stop making it as if a natural human being would become a security threat to us, to the continent. And so, as Honourable Speaker, I want once again to let it be clear to my people, the minority, that they should stop tarnishing the image of their colleague unemployed people. As Honourable Speaker, there are people, let's look at Sadio Mane, a young African. Let's look at what he is doing in the football industry. This is an individual who has given himself to hard training, and so when he got the opportunity, he became whom he is today. And so, as Honourable Speaker, if a group of people are seated somewhere wanting to do nothing, and we are saying that just because of unemployment, what happens to entrepreneurship? It is clear that government, there's no government on the surface of this earth that can absorb all the youths in their country. And let that be clear to my minority caucus, that there is no government on this earth that can absorb every single youth of their country. We cannot talk about China. We cannot talk about the United States. It was innovation, business, entrepreneurship that absorb population. And right, Honourable Speaker, we can see such a thing happening in Ghana. And so why should we still argue that when God has blessed us with a young population, which some governments on the continent are intentional about and they are developing, and this group of people are bringing significant development to their states, today we are saying they are security threats? No, let's not take the argument to that perspective. Let's just all come together and rally around the point that my brother, Honourable Isaac Etona, my brother, Honourable Daniel, we are all significant asset to the development of this country. On that note, I would want to pause here, right, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honourable Members, the floor is still open. Any counter from Honourable Isaac?
Honourable Speaker, my hands are up.
Okay, Honourable Daniel, please.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Permit me to go straight to the point. It looks like Honourable Akowua wasn't listening to me when I was on the floor. Maybe he has his own agenda. Honourable Akowua, you made mention that whatever is happening in the country is a system failure. But bear in mind that systems don't operate themselves. Systems are operated by what? Humans. Systems are operated by what? Experts. And therefore, if that expert is not able to operate that system, that is when the system fails, unless it's a mechanical issue. And that mechanical issue needs to be checked by what? A human, a leader. So if I say part of a problem is a leadership issue, you should understand. Now, let's come to the other side where you say it is the growing population, therefore we are an asset. You kept on calling unemployed people lazy. Bear in mind, not everyone wants to be unemployed. Probably some few might just don't want to work. But bear in mind, not everyone wants to be unemployed. People are writing letters day and night. People are posting job applications day and night. But the unavailability of that job is because the population in that category of job classification is higher than the available job. What happens? Definitely, one will get, the rest won't get. This is not a problem of an individual. This is not the problem of some particular person. You made mention that what happens to entrepreneurship? What happened to entrepreneurship? That automatically also means that you were not listening to me when I was on the floor. Honourable Akowua, I beg to differ. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone, whether we like it or not. People go into entrepreneurship with all their hard-earned money and fail. Come back and start afresh and fail. It is not because they are lazy. It's because at some point you need to learn certain things before you start. That is why we have something called apprenticeship. That is why we have something called internship. You need to learn certain things. Even to be in the industry, even to be a consultant, you need to start from somewhere before you can become a good consultant. So in this all scenario, all I want you to understand is that a growing population doesn't necessarily mean it's an asset. It might be in a way, but bear in mind, if there is no employment, if the population is higher than the available employment, definitely a lot won't get. And what happens to those people who won't get? Corruptions will set in. Threats will set in. So we keep saying that don't even limit this to Ghana. This is an Africa problem. And we kept saying John Mahama did this, John Mahama did this, John Mahama did. John Mahama at the moment is not a president of Africa. John Mahama is a president of the Republic of Ghana. Therefore, when we mention Africa, Ghana is just one country among the over 50 countries. And I can tell you the fact that day in, day out, the migration from the global south is alarming. All because of what? Everyone is looking for a greener pasture. If this is not a threat, who will run away looking for a greener pasture somewhere? Coming even to Ghana alone, a lot are leaving the urban areas, coming to Accra, just to come and squeeze in a kiosk, leaving their home rooms, big rooms. What is this if not unemployment? It is not that the citizens are lazy. The Ghanaian population isn't lazy. The unavailability of what you are looking for is the cause of what we are facing. The unavailability of good leadership to fix the systems that are failing is the reason why we are facing what we are facing. Therefore, my majority caucus and Honourable Agoha just accept the fact that the growing population is not definitely to say that we have an asset, because having a population that is idle is of no use and definitely becomes what? A security threat despite the rise. Therefore, I urge our majority caucus, led by the minority leader and the deputy majority leader, to understand the simple things the minority is trying to put across. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rest my case.
Thank you. Honourable Majority Leader.
Oh, right, Honourable Speaker. Thank you so much for the opportunity to also add my voice to this very important motion. This motion came at the right time as we prepare to celebrate the African Union. Speaker, I'm just disappointed as I do join late, how members, colleague members, especially from the minority, the perspective or the tangent they are taking this motion from and where they are heading to. I'm just disappointed. However, I would like to reiterate that it will do them good if we all take the motion again. I understand and also sympathize with them with the genuine concern they raised when it comes to the issue of unemployment, when it comes to the issue of leadership and all that. But then it shouldn't drive the main focus of this motion, because the motion demands that we evaluate and also give that reverence to our able and hard labor force, that is the youth in our continent. But then we shouldn't shift away from that, rather focusing on the security threat. What the motion seeks to do is that the motion is saying that we, or the growing population which comprises the youth, is more of a developmental aspect. So that is what I think I believe the minority is not really getting. Although I agree with genuine concerns they are raising, they fail to understand the motion. The motion is not negating the fact that we must look at this holistically and also appreciate the fact that there is unemployment or there is bad governance. We are never deviating from that fact. That is also another debate to have when it comes to good governance. But then for the motion before this house and being moved by the deputy majority leader and then the majority leader, the minority leader, I believe that the minority leader is deviating from the motion, because the motion is only seeking for the House to adopt that yes, the Africa has a growing population, and indeed yes, these youth are of more developmental asset than security threat. This doesn't negate the fact that there wouldn't be a negative aspect or there wouldn't be a security threat. Let us look at it from this perspective. It doesn't negate the fact. It doesn't negate the fact that this youth, this labor force, is not going to have any security threat. But the argument just advance, or we must advance as a house, is that is it as compared to the developmental assets? That is what we need to question ourselves on. And on that note, I believe that few of the things I can remind colleagues of is that they even mention countries where they mention Rwanda, they are mentioning of, but they forgot to understand that Rwanda is one of the countries who is increasingly investing in youth innovation and digital transformation. What have they seen in there? That is why they are channeling their energy into what? Developing the youth in innovation and digital transformation. And that is the tangent I've seen in the current government of the Republic of Ghana. There is something in there. And as we all advance this argument, we must still not forget the fact that yes, there is no unemployment. That is not the case. There is unemployment. There is unemployment. There is a security threat, even without unemployment. But it then raises alarm when there is a high rate of unemployment in the country. That is the perspective I believe members should be looking at this motion from. Secondly, when you look at India, India is also one of the countries that has, invested in their youthful population. And when you look at all these economies that have invested in their youth, they've rather achieving an economic growth. We have to look at it from this perspective. They achieve economic growth. Economic growth is key whenever they are investing in their youthful age. And we can talk about the leading China, who has utilized its youthful labor to become an industrial giant. China, let's look at their economy. Look at China's economy. They have utilized this youthful labor force. And so there is one thing I believe that we can also understand from and believe that unemployment is not the only barrier or constraint to the problem we face as a continent. Because Africa is one of the largest workforce potential. We have one of the largest workforce potential. And we can validate that by the brain drain rate. We believe that there is an increasing rate of brain drain in, let me take even Ghana, for instance. So in Africa, we believe that there is an increasing rate of brain drain. We question ourselves here and there one day, oh, nurses come, when we have experience or trained nurses, we just left them out to go into, Europe, go to other African, other parts of the world to go and then offer their expertise, leaving their home country. And this validates the fact that Africa does not lack the youth workforce, or does not lack the innovation. But what we lack we must advance the argument on the leadership. We must then advance the argument on how we can leverage on our youth force to also boost our economy. Brain drain has been a perfect example that validates, because there is no country that will place value on importing something that will not add any value to their economy or their country. But then they are interested in Africa's young talents. Brain drain. You train them, you train your teachers. They said they need teachers in this institution in US. They need teachers in this institution in Europe. They will go. Nurses, Ghana, we export them all the time. And we later now have the debate that brain drain. It is happening, which tells you that our Ghanaians, our Africans are offering their expertise even globally. So let's not fail to shift our focus from the basic foundation of this motion, so that we can equally look at where the loopholes are. We may advance decisions, or we may advance calls on leadership. We may advance courses on a policy failure, because I believe policy failure is one of the things that has been on my heart, that policy failure is what is affecting Africa as a nation. But we cannot change that as a youthful failure, or the youth not being able or not being capable. A policy failure cannot be termed as a youth failure. So I will not sit here and advance the decision or advance the debate as though youth of Africa are not hardworking. I will not advance that debate. That debate can also be a different tangent we would want to pursue another time. But as we are coming to celebrate African Union's Day, I believe that policy is what African leaders must actually look at, because any government that wants to be intentional about the youth, we see the outcome. The outcome is very evident. And so I urge colleague members, I don't want the Honourable Minority Leader to lead his caucus again with his mischief this evening. I believe that when I joined, he's trying to marshal a certain group of people into believing that this motion has no need or has no substance for us to debate on. That is the argument they want to pursue. But then I believe that the majority caucus, as strongly we have discussed, they are ready to bring their input to this debate, because I urge them to understand the basic. They should read the motion again. We are not against the fact that there is unemployment. I agree with everything they say. So I perfectly agree with everything you are saying. I agree with you. But then for the fact that you have to read the question, the motion again, I think that will give us a very better view, because all you've said can go into what I am saying, that there is a policy failure. As a continent, there is a policy failure, because any country that is being intentional about their policy direction, we see how the economy also reacts to it. So let me thank them for their view on this motion. But then I also urge them that at the end of the day, they should help us adopt the motion. I thank you for the opportunity, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Minority Leader.
Thank you very much there, Right Honourable Speaker. I don't know whether to laugh or I really don't know, but it's exciting that the majority themselves are asking us, we that have the opportunity to explain their own motion to them, because when they started the whole conversation, including what the majority leader just said, you can just clearly tell that they just don't understand their own motion they brought, their own business that they brought before us. They don't understand it. And he said a lot of things I wish I could debate, but I don't know where to even start from. I'll do the ones I can, and my able members will attack the rest. Mr. Speaker, he was talking about China. Let me start from that point. He was talking about China and how China has been able to tap into the youthful population and is using the youth and all of that and so on. That is what we are talking about, that the youth is only able to be a developmental asset if you are able to use them, period. And I don't even understand why you would go as far as talking about China. Read your motion. Your motion says, and I am going to read it to you again. Your motion says that this house believes that Africa's growing youth population, Africa, you didn't say East Asia, you didn't say America, you didn't say Europe. You said Africa's growing population, youth population, is more of a developmental asset than a security threat, despite the rising levels of youth unemployment in the continent. Now you go out of the continent to bring examples which don't even favor you. In fact, the China that you talked about, what is China's population? 1.4 billion. What is their unemployment rate as at 2023? Their unemployment rate is 21.3%. Ghana, what is our population? Barely 34 million. What is our unemployment rate? Over 30%. Check Ghana Statistical Services website and look for it. And you want to make this kind of comparison and say that we shouldn't say that the youth are lazy. Nobody. It means you are not paying attention to all the arguments we are making. Nobody here said that the youth are lazy. We didn't say that. But your own motion is saying that the growing population of the youth is more of a developmental asset, despite, you brought it inside, you said despite the rising levels of youth unemployment, you brought it there. And you don't expect us not to talk about unemployment because you put it there. So we have to show you that when you talk about the growing youth population of the African continent, and you want to juxtapose that with the current rising unemployment rate, as you put it in the motion, you cannot logically say that it is a developmental asset. You cannot. That would be a great intellectual dishonesty on your part to say that looking at the current unemployment level and rates that we have, rising like you put it in your own motion, coupled with the growing, in fact, unprecedented growing youth population we have now, you want to call it a developmental asset. How? It is not. I explained to you. You see, you joined late. I agree. You didn't understand your own motion, but you joined late. Well, you should have joined early so that when I was giving the education on your own motion, you would have understood it. I gave you the explanation to the motion. I told you that when we talk about developmental asset, it is that the resource is able to contribute to the economy of the country, period. But when you talk about security threat, you are looking at the potentiality. That is what we are trying to explain to you, that when you have them there, they are not working, there is the higher potential that they would shift towards doing things that are against the peace of the country, violence and so on. And I give you serious examples. UNDP, for instance, the research they did in 2023, I give you all those figures. 65% of the people are complaining that they join some of these extremist groups because of lack of job opportunities, and you want to steal. And this data I'm quoting to you, they did it in Africa, on the African continent, not in Europe, not in East Asia, not in China, just Africa. And I've given you all of these ones, yet you still want to say that no, the youth are not lazy. Nobody is saying the youth are lazy. What we are trying to tell you is that even though the youth are hardworking, they have the potential, there is not enough grounds for them to exhibit this so as to contribute to the economy of the country, and therefore cannot be said to be developmental assets. Just because you have you heard my people tell you that we don't eat potential, we don't eat it. Just like this is now saying that you don't eat stability, or you do eat instability, whatsoever the arguments are. What we are trying to tell you is that just because the potential is there, if it is untapped, it is useless. You have gold, you cannot mine it by yourselves. Just let me veer off a bit. You have gold in Ghana, you have all the minerals, you can't tap it yourself. That is why somebody will come and tap it and take 90% of the proceeds away, and you get only 10%, and you shout. Nothing will change. Why? Because you don't have the potential to tap into it. The potential is there, which is the mineral resource, yes, but do you have the ability to tap into it, to make it developmental, productive to yourself? No. So just because you cannot do that, it makes it more of a security threat. That's what we are saying to you, that the youth are there, able, well-trained, well-educated, have the skills, the energy is there, but are we able to give them the grants? And I hear your deputy majority leader talk about entrepreneurship. Have you look, I have seen firsthand young individuals who go into agriculture. In fact, let me not even give my personal experience with them. Have you seen what people are saying now? Have you seen what the farmers are doing now? They farm, there is no purchase, there is no patronage. They go into agriculture, or you will tell me agriculture is not entrepreneurship. Then which one is? So the thing is that all we are trying to make you understand is we cannot run away from the fact that the youth of this country are, or the youth on the continent are abled people. We are not disputing that fact, but we are saying that just because they are able doesn't mean that they are developmental assets, because I again explained to you that developmental asset means you are contributing. Now the guy is there not doing anything, not paying nothing, not doing any work. So how is that person a developmental asset? Majority. So simply put, you people understand your motion and then rally behind the minority to understand that no, this one that you have brought before us, you yourselves do not understand the motion, and as such, based on the education we have given you, you have to reciprocate the gesture by agreeing with us that the rising level of youth and employment across this continent as we have it, just like you captured in your own motion, is more of a security threat than a developmental asset. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Thomas Yonka.
Good evening, House. Good evening, Mr. Speaker. Honorable members, I stayed in Saum for a long. I came to meet that's in Saum Canary. It was, it's a huge company that employed the youth especially. But then you will not hear that in the night a gang cross someone here, or you will not hear something like, excuse my language, some people they form a group here and they are into prostitution. But now it is happening in Isawam right now, because Isawam Canary is down, and they were even threatening to close down Blue Skies. So you see, growing of the population is not the problem of this matter, but it's rather increasing negatively in this country, and that one it cause problem to the security service or system. I heard Honorable Samson talking about unemployment is no blah 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 blah. You see, unemployment is the factor, and entrepreneurship, as my able minority leader was saying. Let me put this as example. It's not all of us that can work in the security system like police, soldier, army, but somebody can work in the factory. Somebody, even a month back, I watched one guy on the social media. He used this plastic to produce diesel. Where is the support? If they support this guy to expand this business, the guy will employ security. He will employ driver. He will employ managing director. And even he will employ some of us. Like minority leader said, Mr. Speaker, we have everything to enjoy better life in this country. Look at our mining system. Very poor. South Africa people are sacking them from their country, but their companies are here now begging for our president to renew their licenses.
You are talking about our population growing. The world is growing, so definitely we have to grow in numbers. But unemployment is a threat. Okay, we travel long and we know how the road now it become dangerous. Not let's even put accident aside. The robbery case on our road, and I may say like 75% to 80% are the youth. Excuse my language. Go to Circle and see our young ladies that are into prostitution. Not that it's their desire. No. You get contact to maybe 2-3 people, you get to know that they don't have anything to do in the house. Therefore, so they have to engage themselves into this business, which is not helping the country. Our population does not get to do anything with unemployment, the security system, but it's rather the unemployment that is threatened. I don't have job. What do you want me to do? I have to choose the negative path to get job. These Yahoo boys, do you think if they have job, they will do this? No. I am busy, you are busy, everybody is busy. Who have time to go and stand by the roadside with a gun? No. Excuse my language, to go and open my leg widely for some? No. It's a big no. But because we don't have those things, you see, if you are talking about system failure, I will agree with you in the sense that now everybody is packing him or herself in Accra, Kumasi, the big cities in Ghana. But you see, if you go to the northern sector or the northern part of Ghana, you see that there is a lot of things that we can do in the northern part to evacuate people, the population from Accra to that place to work. And therefore, the country will also get, even the country will, get profit from them, because by the end of the day, they are all going to pay tax to the government. They have share nuts in the northern sector, but they don't process them there. We have crude oil here, but we don't process anything here. We have to send everything outside the country, and they are going to divide it like into a sector for us, because crude oil, we get petrol, we get diesel, we get kerosene. Even the last thing, but not the least, we get bitumen. But all these things, we have to go and buy it again. The high cost, and come bring it to our country. But if we have that machinery or we have that companies here, the youth will not get, won't they be employed? Unemployment is our problem. It's a big problem to the country. And therefore, we urge the leaders, whether MPP or NDC, we urge them to build more factories. If there is more factories, definitely each and every one will get his job. I will end my speech by, Mr. Speaker, sɛ ɔman bɛyɛ yie a, egyina me ne wo mmienu nyinaa ɛso. So therefore, let's preach the good word to the community, to our leaders, and those who supposed to create job. If the jobs are there and the people don't want to work, that one you call them lazy people. But the jobs are not there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honourable Julius Akowua. Honourable Julius Akowua.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity once again. Yes, Mr. Speaker, please can you hear me?
Yes, proceed.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I humbly want to say that the minority is purporting, or I would want to say that the minority leader is on his way, but he's not successful in trying to in trying to lead this house into mischief. I can see the signs on his caucus members, but then, President Speaker, this house is heading towards the direction to accept the fact that young men are not threats, are not security threats, they are developmental assets. President Speaker, the minority, just the immediate speaker spoke, and he mentioned that a whole lot of people are into prostitution and the rest. I want to ask him, is he into prostitution himself? Is he into armed robbery? If he's not into armed robbery, he should tell us why. Did he come from a family with a spoon in his mouth? If that is the case, then he should let us know. I would want to say that he is also among one of the innovative young men on this continent, and if he himself cannot indulge into prostitution or armed robbery and the likes that we are saying, then the question is, let's look at what makes the individuals who are engaging in that because of unemployment. We have to engage them and address the actual fact, rather than saying that, oh, because of unemployment, people are into prostitution, people are into armed robbery. We are not saying that unemployment is not real. Unemployment is real. But if somebody has to carry gun, that person should have a reason beyond unemployment. Yes, should have a reason beyond unemployment. If my minority leader here is not on the streets, or if he goes at night to do the operation, then he has to let us know, because Ghana's unemployment level is high. No. So Honourable Speaker, he spoke about agriculture. Good. I am an agribusiness student. I understand that agriculture is a risky venture, but then it is one of the most profitable ventures we have in our world today. My colleague, Honourable Isaac, knows how our families who are in the rural areas, when you look at them, they are very young, they are energetic, they are smart, they look handsome and beautiful, because they are tapping into the potentials in their rural communities. A lot of them are in the farms. A lot of them are feeding us, are feeding those who are in the urban areas. And so, Honourable Speaker, if one person decides that, okay, where I grew up, I don't want to be there anymore. What my parents taught me, as in if it is farming, as in if it is fishing, as in if it is a decent, even some people who grew up in homes where their parents had fitting shops and all those skills, tailoring. Some of those ladies have left that. Meanwhile, that is what their parents did and took care of them to where they are today. And they left all those prospects. And my people are saying that a lot of young women are into prostitution because of unemployment. No, let us not run down the whole thing about unemployment. We are saying that youths are assets to development. And that is undeniable. Whatever mischief the minority is trying to cook, it will not, it has failed. It has failed. It's like a coup that tried to happen in Benin and has failed. If they are trying to lead this house into that illusion that young men are threats, then we should see himself as one. If he is not one, then he should mobilize his caucus members to agree on the fact that youths are assets to development, not security threats, irrespective of our unemployment issues. Honourable Speaker, when you look at one of the causes or one of the sources of threats to our security is our geopolitical system. Our geopolitical system is that, and it is a macro issue which cannot even be controlled by not even our leadership or not even anybody in our country. And when we are talking about unemployment, recently, when the Strait of Hormuz has been closed, we realized that a lot of shippings cannot go up and down, and some factories had to shut down. Was that a doing of a youth? Was that a doing of an individual who my colleague minority members are referring to as threats? It is not their doing. It is a macro issue. It is a geopolitical issue beyond their control. So if those people lose their jobs because materials are not flowing from where they come from to their factories for them to work, and they are laid off, and more opportunities, people who has to expand their business wouldn't be able to expand their business due to this recent issue that is happening in Asia. Should we blame these young people? No, we can't. So, Honourable Speaker, this motion is for us all to resolve that, okay, when we see our brothers on the streets, we need to inspire that hope in them that, look, you and I, we have a responsibility to develop Africa. And when my colleague minority members are seeing them as threats, what do they become? Look, let me quote a scripture for you. My minority leader, I know he's a minister. The Bible says that as a man thinks, so is he. That's what the Bible says. And so if they have this perception, and with the effort of the majority trying to bring light, the Bible says that for they that dwell in gross darkness have seen a great light. If we are bringing this great light to them, for them to see today that young men are not threats, but rather developmental assets, and they are trying to put themselves in that mischief. That's what I'm Speaker. Then I'm sorry. It saddens my heart that my respected colleagues are taking this position today, because not until today, I would never agree that my people in a minority has this mindset. That's what I'm Speaker. Thank you for the opportunity, but I will say that minority leader, organize and marshal your people, and let's all adopt this motion that you and I, we are assets to development. And from tomorrow, let's see the young men on the streets. Even if you go to your TV station tomorrow to present, make sure represent that hope, represent that future, okay? and make sure that these young people see themselves as assets, and let us not preach negativity into their minds and they will become what they think. Thank you. Right on, Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Enogbadu.
Thank you very much, Speaker, and also thank you to my noble members. Please, to the majority caucuses, Honorable Gideon said youth are security threat. He said we, the minority caucus, said, but we all know if there is unemployment, that is when youth becomes a security threat to the country. So, however, as my honorable member Thomas make an example, and also he stated it clearly to the majority caucuses for them to know how the effects of unemployment are affecting the youth. We all bear to it, and also to our majority members, we are all students, and most of them are into education. We all complain attending to school, after school there is no work. After school there is no work. If there are work, how will we, the students, complain that if there is no school, if there is school, there is work? But now majority members, they should ask themselves, are there work for the youth? No. Are the youth willing to work? Yes. Where are the jobs? So how are the leaders of Africa are going to provide jobs for the youth? There is more youth, there is low works. There is low job across all the youth. So how are we willing to survive, we the youth? As my honorable member said, Thomas said, people have turned into prostitutes and also armed robbers. Because of why? Because there is low unemployment in Africa. So, Speaker, please, to our honorable majority members, please, they should bear witness with us and they should follow our steps. And also, they should follow us to fight unemployment in Africa and also in Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Daniel Akakpo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity once again. Honorable Speaker, I would like our honorable members from the majority caucus to stop deviating from the main subject, because it looks like they are more concerned about what the minority is saying about unemployment, to the extent that they have decided to be deviating from the main subject, what we are saying, just to create an impression that a minority is against the motion and does not know what they are saying. No one is saying it is wrong or it is a bad thing for us to have a growing populace. But what a minority is trying to say is a growing populace against a decreasing employment ratio is definitely what is creating the security threat, not the individuals as citizens. Therefore, they should stop creating the impression that we are saying that the citizens, the growing citizens, are threats. No. No tree or no tree branch moves in the absence of a wind. Something must definitely push something to happen. Therefore, all we are saying is the fact that the population is growing doesn't mean it is an asset. It might be in a way, but if the population is growing and what the population is meant to do is decreasing, which is job system failure, as they themselves have termed it. Systems don't fail by themselves. I keep saying it. Systems don't fail by themselves because systems don't work on themselves. It is humans that work on them. Therefore, if leadership fails, that is when the system fails. Therefore, all we want to the majority to understand is that the fact that there is an unemployment in the motion, they should understand that unemployment in Africa is a global security threat. Therefore, they should just understand that and follow us in accepting the fact that this is more of security threats than developing assets. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Joseph Question.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Good evening, Honorable Speaker, and then good evening, House. Honorable Speaker, sorry I joined late, but looking at or hearing from what my honorable minorities are saying, especially from what our Honorable Daniel just spoke about, I'm a little disappointed in him. I don't know yet, but a little disappointed because it is the minority that are shaping the whole motion as if we are talking about unemployment rather than the positive aspects of the motion. The motion reads that the Honorable House believe that Africa growing youth population is more of a developmental asset than a security threat, despite the rising of unemployment. We are aware. But they are shaping the whole situation as if they, you see, they brought the unemployment. Now, when the majority begin to banter what they are saying, now they are making it look as if it is the majority who are now bringing, making the whole thing as unemployment. But they have forgotten the fact that even if you want to argue on unemployment, they have forgotten the fact that unemployment is a policy failure, not a youth failure. This is what I want my honorable minority people to understand, that even if the motion is, how do we call it, drawn to unemployment, we will say that unemployment is a policy failure and not an individual failure or not a youth failure. Because why am I saying this? You see, it is the system that is not working that has that has placed us in an unemployed society. Despite that, the youth in the system are assets for development. When we say youth are assets for development, we are talking about people who are eager to bring change, people who are eager to bring renovation. The African youth are already driving renovations. If you want to look at how do we call it, Kenya. If you want to go to Kenya, if you look at the setup of Kenya, look at Kenya. Now, Kenya now is an Africa fast-growing tech setup country. That's Kenya. If you say I'm dying, you should just go to Google and just research and find out. Now the youths there are fast taken. Everybody is into tech. Everybody is into this. Which means that when the opportunity is given to us, we are going to work. We are doing it. So the unemployment there is not the youth failure, but rather it is the policies failure. So the majority, we believe the fact that if we believe the fact that the youth, we are in for development. Look at, if you don't want to politicize what we are doing or this motion that we are looking at, and if you want to bring how do we call it, the current administration involved, when batons were passed into the youth, look at what the youth are doing. Look at what the, how do we call it, the regional minister of Asante region, look at what he is doing. Look at what Honorable John Dumero is also doing. Look at all these people. All these people are youth, and look at what they are doing for the nation to develop. So, Honorable Speaker, I believe the fact that the youth are developmental assets. Despite that, we are living in, how do we call it, unemployment society, or we are living in unemployment, how do you call it, continent as an Africa. Yet it doesn't bedrain our point, or it doesn't bedrain our fact that the youth are not a developmental asset. If we want people, every country that want to develop, every country that want to go higher, every country that want to run faster and go into a deep, how do we call it, development, it is the youth. The youth are assets. It is the youth, not the old aged. It is the youth. Though we are living in unemployed community, but yet we are the asset. So my honorable majority leader was telling our minority leader that when they go to their stations, their TV stations, their radio stations, in order to talk to the youth or to speak on behalf of the youth, they should let us be aware. You see, it is an emotion. Africa, we have, how do we call it? Brainwash ourselves to the point that because we are an African and because we have more of unemployment, we are lazy, we can't do anything for ourselves, we can't become anything better in future, our life is drained, we can't become anything. The only thing we can resource in is what they were mentioning. We can only just become an armed robber, we can become a prostitute, of which is zero to it. Zero. And the answer is wrong. The answer is very wrong to it. We see, when we brainwash ourselves, that is what kills us. That is what made us become a threat. Only if we brainwash ourselves. But if we can believe the fact and the point that Africa, we are the assets to development. Anything that we want to do, we can do and do it well as a youth. Anything that our hands touch to do, we can do and make it right. Africa will develop further than the Asians. We will develop further than the Europeans. It is only because we have already brainwashed ourselves and we have believed the fact that, oh, for us, the unemployment, we as makers, for now, we are security threat. We have to, the only thing we have come to know that, oh, let's do demonstration. Then we say, oh, because of the unemployment, we are doing demonstration. Let's put ourselves into it. That is wrong. Only if we will shape our minds back to the positivity that we are an asset for development, everything will change. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good evening, House.
Thank you very much, Honorable Emmanuel Owusu-Boakye.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity one more time. I want to thank my able minority caucus again. Indeed, we've proven tonight that every time we are very good at, understanding the motion on board and bringing into perspective what needs to be done and said. You can attest to the fact that, per all that has been said, one key that I take from this very debate is that development is not in the area of what you have, but rather what you bring on board. In a sense that we are not only talking about the developmental assets, but then what you can go ahead, the extra, how you can go beyond to maximize what you have currently. When you listen to the majority caucus, they are only sidelined on a point that we, the minority caucus, are focusing on unemployment. But when we look at the motion very well, it does not negate unemployment. It doesn't take away the fact that unemployment is very important in this discussion. Because if you take away the unemployment factor in this very motion, you are not doing due diligence to the motion on board. In the sense that every developed country, each and every developed country that you can think of, are not built by the public sector, which is the government. It is built by the private sector. And what does the private sector do? the private sector brings on board things that can actually empower the youth and take them away from unemployment issues. So if the government is going to get involved, what does it do? It puts in systems and policies and measures to empower the private sector to create an opportunity for us to build the youth. You can test the fact that in this our nation right now, and even in African continent, when it comes to skills, I mean, soft skills, hands-on skills that can actually empower an individual into the limelight, the average African, you cannot find it within the average African. All because we have negated certain developmental truth. So all I'm trying to say is that the minority caucus are not just, highlighting on the unemployment issue. We are also bringing into perspective and the fact that the government needs to look beyond just the promises, and empower the private sector to put in systems or to bring in initiatives that can empower the younger generation or the youth so that they can amount to something. Because an idle person is a dangerous weapon in the hands of unscrupulous people. When I'm very idle, there is no point in, not being employed by somebody who can give me something in exchange for a negativity, something that is a threat to society. And that is what our concern is. So we should understand that whatever that we are discussing here is not just for the, getting of points or you being said to be to carry the day, but rather the reality on ground, which is unemployment. And this unemployment can be done, can be eradicated when we empower the private sector through systems and policies by the government that can help the unemployed youth. Thank you once again, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, we are approaching the end of the debate, and I just want to inform you that we'll be listening to your last submissions. So I'll take last submissions from Honourable Thomas, Honourable Daniel, Honourable Julius Akowua. Then we'll take concluding remarks from the leaders and I'll put the question. Then from there we adjourn. So please, 2 minutes, Honourable Thomas.
Good evening once again, Right Honourable Speaker. Speaker, I'm starting to be corrected. 35.6 million people in Ghana, 13% unemployment. And we, the minority, we are not, or we are, if you check the head, it said what? Youth population is more of a developmental asset. We are not saying the youth are not developmental asset. Our problem here is the growing of the youth. The population is going high. Meanwhile, unemployment is not. Okay. One of the majority member asked that am an armed robber or a prostitute, and the answer is no. And he continues says that if you meet a youth or something like, you should give the person hope. Hope of what? You don't have the job for the person. You are giving the person fake hope. And by the end of the day, this person that you are giving hope is not getting anything into the stomach. So therefore, he has to come to you by force to come and take something from you for chop chop. Honorable Speaker, we are talking about a system here. Who programmed the system? Like my honorable said, it's human being that programmed the system. What we are talking about here is about if the system is being good. As the population is growing, employment too should grow. And like I said earlier, it's not all of us that can be in the construction field. It's not all of us that can be in office. It's not all of us that can be doctors, nurses, bank managers. But each and everyone has something to do on this earth. So therefore, money too is a problem here for the entrepreneurs, especially our sisters and brothers that go into mechanics, seamstress, hairdressers. Where would they, after completing the job as apprenticeship, going to get the finance? That is what we are talking about here. So therefore, it's a security threat in the sense that I'm school. I'm a student. I'm a culture student, or I'm a whatever. I'm done. What do you want me to do? Here that the leaders have to create job for the youth. So we are the youth are very important to the nation. They are very developmental asset to the nation. But if there is no job in the system, excuse my language, they'll be useless. We will have useless youth in a society, and therefore it will create vacuum. That vacuum, the negative vacuum for them to enter there, and that is the criminal aspect. That's the armed robbery, the prostitution, the scammers. We can name them. Let me end with this, Mr. Speaker. Unfortunate for South Africa, we are talking about Africa. You see, South Africa, I stand to be corrected. But what I study about South Africa is, for them, their youth don't like job, because whether you work or not, by the end of the month, I believe government have something small for them. So therefore, the youth doesn't want to. But if we come to Ghana, we are eager to work. We are out there searching for work. Do you know people applications that are on decks? Some are in the dustbin. No. So I end my topic here. Minority members of the House, please don't misquote us. We are not saying the youth are not developmental assets. They are, but we underline the word population. The population, the youth population, have to match with the development, or the employment in the system. The population shouldn't go and leave the unemployment. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Good evening once again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Daniel Kako.
Mr. Speaker, thank you once again. My job has been done a lot, and for this sake, I wouldn't be talking much. For the sake of the majority caucus, let me read the motion to them again, just one more. The motion states that this honorable house believes that Africa's growing youth population is more of a developmental asset than a security threat, despite the rising level of youth unemployment across the continent. The underlying word here is despite the rising level of youth unemployment across the continent. Mr. Speaker,
I think the
if
honorable member, hold on. I think the majority leader is raising a point of order. Let me hear the points of order.
Thank you very much, Speaker. It's not a point of order. It's an indication that we are aware the youth president will brief the House today. So he's also joining another meeting, and so if we can just reduce after Honorable Daniel, then we can just conclude on the debate so that we take the address from the youth president.
Honorable member, you have interrupted the debate with an unnecessary intervention. Your intervention is overruled. Honorable Daniel, please continue.
so, just as I read the motion back, the case is not for the fact that the youth are lazy or the youth are not assets. The youth, in a way, are assets, but in the presence of the rising unemployment rate, the unemployment rate is overshadowing the growing population. Simply to say that, in simple economics term, if demand is high and supply is low, definitely there will be crisis. Simple. So this is what is causing the whole hula baloo, the whole krinkum kraku that is happening, Mr. Speaker. Just let them understand, let the majority understand the simple scenario that the youth are not the problem, but in the presence of the unemployment rate that is rising, that is where the problem lies. Therefore, the youth cannot just be an asset in the presence of unemployment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Concluding remarks. Do I take the deputy majority leader or the majority leader? Which of you is going to give? Okay,
yes,
concluding
I'm
remarks
to
from your
him.
caucus.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I believe your earlier ruling was that I would be the last person to speak, after which the concluding remarks will come. But then I'm glad you have changed. If things have changed, that is fine. Honourable Speaker, thank you once again for the opportunity. On behalf of the majority caucus, I will want to reiterate the fact that our youth in Africa are developmental assets and they are not security threats. Right, Honourable Speaker, when my colleagues in the minority are saying that a rising population is just a threat to that continent, and then when we look at Europe, even though there are jobs in the European countries, when you look at Asia, they are absorbing their youth, but yet still they are security threats in their country. We hear of drug cartels and the likes. So, Mr. Speaker, are we saying that if we want to look at the aspect of Europe and Asia, putting it in the context of this debate we are having today, are we saying that even though there is unemployment in Asia or in Europe, but yet still we see threats in those countries? Mr. Speaker, if that is the case, then even employment alone should be the reason why my minority members will be declaring our youths as threats today, then there should be no security threat in Europe or in Asia. So, Right Honourable Speaker, today, we the majority caucus, we stand behind the 1.3 million Ghanaian unemployed youths in Ghana, even though the minority caucus are in their mischievous way trying to declare them as security threats to the security of Africa. We, the majority, will rally behind them, and we know that very soon the tables are going to change. And Right Honourable Speaker, I want to end by a submission of a quote of the founder of this country, His Excellency Kwame Nkrumah. He said that the future belongs to the youth, but only if they rise to claim it with responsibility and vision. I'll state that again. He says that the future belongs to the youth, but only if they rise to claim it with responsibility and vision. Right Honourable Speaker, on this note, I know that all the points that the minority and his caucus members, the mischief they are trying to cook, I believe strongly it has failed. Tonight they have seen a great light. The mischief of their leader has failed, just as I stated a while ago, that as a failed coup in Benin. So, Right Honourable Speaker, on this note, I want to entreat all members who have joined this debate that, look, let's all vote in favor of this motion. From today, let us not see the young men and women as threats just because of unemployment. Let us not see them as people who could harm us just because of unemployment. Right Honourable Speaker, once again, we the majority, we are behind the 1.3 million unemployed youth in Ghana. And despite the mischief of the minority trying to declare them as threats to security on the continent of Africa, we the majority believe in them. We believe in their potentials. We know that the future belongs to us, and we believe that this House today will vote in favor of this motion, that youths in Africa, youths on the soil of Africa, has to be seen as assets to development, but not as threats to security, as the minority is trying to lead this House into that mischief. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Before I call the minority leader to conclude, Mr. President, did you want to contribute to the motion, or it is about your main address? Just a quick question to you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I think probably because our leader was not here earlier, so he wasn't aware that I've given my speech already. But he called upon me that I should come and do so. I guess that's why he brought me on. But all the same, if I can make.
Okay. If you want to comment on the motion, let's kindly allow the minority leader to give his concluding remarks, and then we'll take yours before you put the question. Thank you. So, minority leader, concluding remarks.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, the Right Honourable Speaker and the House. I think that this is the most crucial time of the discussion, and I'll just like to reiterate once more that the minority has not changed its mind. We still stand by the fact that looking at this particular motion that is before us, plus all the facts we've laid before this honorable House, I'll be surprised that anyone would say that this motion should carry. I'll be very surprised, because the minority came into this discussion with facts and figures, with points, why we are saying that the growing youth population of the African continent cannot be considered as a developmental asset, but it is more of a security threat. And we've given you points that just because the population is growing, it does not mean there is development or they are developmental assets. And I gave you the explanation of what we mean by developmental assets, that they are resources, group of individuals, personnel that are able to contribute directly to the growth of the economy of a country. And I am surprised that a member from the majority would come here and confuse developmental asset with asset for development. It's English, they are not the same. Developmental asset is not the same as asset for development. They are two different things. And so you cannot bring that into the argument. The motion and the words in the motion before us are clear. Asset for development means it can be used. Developmental asset means it is being used. It is really relevant. It is contributing, not the potential of being used. We've made all these arguments and we've told you that potential alone, we are not disputing the fact that the youth on the African continent are not potential and do not have potentials. We've proven beyond reasonable doubt that they have the potentials. But the argument we are making is that in spite of having those potentials, the avenue for them to exhibit, to employ, to use these potentials to the benefit of the economy, which would then make it sensible to say that they are developmental assets, is non-existent. And so we cannot by any means say that they are developmental assets, even though they have the potential. And the reason is because the potential they have is not bringing any benefit to the economy or to the developmental agenda of the continent because they are not using it. We've shown that. I find it quite disturbing that they keep mentioning countries outside of the African continent because it doesn't do them any good either. They are talking about the fact that the population is growing, and so we should pat ourselves at the back and be positive. Positive about what? The reality is before us. You want us to be saying something different. Take Netherlands, for instance. Netherlands population is barely half of Ghana's population. Because you are countries outside of the African continent. Netherlands, the population is barely half of what Ghana has. Yet, what is their GDP? What is their GDP? 1.2 trillion. Ghana, what is ours? We are barely hitting somewhere 200 million. And so we cannot. The population in Netherlands is low. Yet look at the kind of progress they are making as far as the economy is concerned. We've proven all of this beyond reasonable doubt. We've shown you all the facts and the figures, even quoting the UNDP studies that they've made, showing you that about 65% of a sampled population that they investigated tell them that it's because of lack of job opportunities, which is why they enter extremist groups, violent groups, to cause chaos, to cause mayhem across the African continent. Yet the majority came into this discussion with no salient point. They have not been able to tell us one good reason why the growing youth population of the African continent is a developmental asset rather than what we are saying. They've not been able to tell us any point. Rather, they keep going in circles, not giving us any reason to believe them. And so I will employ all of us that when the question is put, which I think shouldn't even be put because the facts are clear that this motion cannot carry, but when it is put, we should all understand that this is a no-no and cannot carry. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minority Leader. Your Excellency, your contribution on the motion.
All right. Can you hear?
Yes, we can.
Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear.
Okay. Right Honourable Speaker, thank you so much for the opportunity. I want to commend your leadership and for the great work you are doing, and so to the leaders of the House, the majority leader and that of the minority leader, for their great and wonderful work. Well, I listened for a while before I went off, and I really like the angle both house came from, because it is needed in making sure that this very motion is well attended to, and then can be used for future decision making and so on. We realize this, as we've been saying, that for centuries and for years, the African continent is changing, and it's changing in a manner that the population is getting much younger and younger than before. And at one side, it is a great opportunity for the African continent because the youth are full of energy. Nevertheless, we can't also neglect the challenges and the dangers involved. We can cite many potentials, so is it that we can also cite many challenges here and there, of which particularly we may want to put majority of the work on the government, which is very true. But I also want to make it known to my dear comrades who are here that time has proven very well that as it stands now, we cannot get the majority of the things from the government. And as a result of that, if we, this very youth of this generation, do rely majorly on the government, then we are going to fail ourselves, and then going to make the next generation have issues living a better life. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. If you consider countries such as China, Singapore, and many others as such, if you look at the Chinese that we are talking about, once upon a time, after the Second World War, when there were a number of issues here and there, history says that the Chinese country was divided. Okay, and to them, it wasn't the government that helped them. Okay, we are not neglecting the government, but I don't want us to also to rely on the government. Okay, in that if we continuously play the card of government, we will close our eyes and open and see that our time as youths and as youthful and energetic as we are, that we can contribute, has expired. Hence, I will entreat all of us who are here to know this very well, that if this opportunity can be used and used well, we must rise up ourselves. And how do we rise up? We must rise up in character development. We must rise up in career development. We must rise up in what it takes to handle the various portfolios, of which very soon will fall on our laps, such as the presidency down to the very button. Because as it stands now, some of us are of a certain ranks in our businesses, in our jobs, and so on. What are we doing now? So one is how we ourselves will live our life, and not neglecting the government. The other thing is what we are doing here, discussing to come up with relevant policies or suggestive policy that we can send or push forward for the government also to intercede. But the end of the matter for me is that we must rise up ourselves. We must look at the situation very well. We must look and understand what it takes to handle the various portfolios that we are seeing ahead of us, and prepare adequately for that portfolios, because very soon it will fall on us. And what is the next generation going to say? Are they going to also lament, as we've seen going on now, because some people have failed us? Honourable members, I only want to talk plenty, but I think the call is an individual call to begin with. in as much as we need an external help from the government and other stuff like that, I want to entreat all of us to prepare and prepare well. And when you meet our fellow colleague, our fellow youth who seems hopeless and so on, let's put hope in that individual. Okay, I don't want to bash on the government because time and time has proven that we can't adequately rely on them. We've seen glimpses of what the current government or administration is doing, but it's never promised. And so I'll stand by saying that we must prepare ourselves for tomorrow. And I really appreciate the contributions by the majority and that of the minority. They are all very important, and if taken into consideration, it will do us very well. And if I'm leveraging on what the majority puts on, that it is just a potential and not necessarily an asset, I will quote a research that was conducted in view of last year, which I had opportunity to be part of and to present a report at the Kofi Annan Center for International Peacekeeping Training Center. And we realized from the report that we're also talking about the youth bulge. And we realized from the report that as the youth are growing, democracy is declining. The youth are rather inclining themselves to other forms of governmental systems or means of leadership and so on. Are we here? So those are the threats. And then if we come to the other side, the opportunity to realize that these are people that can be encouraged, not necessarily from the government, but from events such as what we are doing and many others. So I want to say thank you for the opportunity. And indeed, this discussion has been very insightful. And I think I'll make more time to be around so we can discuss more. For the sake of what I'm doing now, I cannot continue and talk for long. But I'll share some of the research papers on to the speaker, and then he will share it on the platform. Thank you, my honorable members.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your contributions. Honorable members, at the conclusion of the debate, I now put the question to the House. Unfortunately, looking at the subject matter, I cannot put a voice vote, but rather we'll do head count. Honorable members present, the head count will be by hands. The head count will be by hands. Having seen the subject matter, I'm not encouraged to put a voice vote. Yes, leader.
Speaker, I have no objection. I mean, I respect the chair, and so you may continue to do so.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, as I've stated, the head count will be by hands. So I will now put the question. All members in favor of the motion, please raise your hands for counting. Okay. Okay. We have recorded the votes. Thank you very much.
Speaker.
Honorable Samson.
Yes, Speaker, my deputy's network unfortunately has I mean, and so if there could be a proxy, I mean, I didn't see his vote, so if you can please pardon him.
Honorable Isaac, Minority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, I stand to object to what he is saying.
Speaker,
In fact,
with all
we
due
can't
respect, I
have
think you
that.
have already
It's
recorded
people who are
the
present and voting. You can't be doing proxies here. Honorable Mr. Speaker, please. That request should not be granted. I beg your pardon. I beg you.
May I refer members to the standing orders? Voting is by members present. So if someone is absent, his vote cannot be counted. So therefore, the appeal is overruled. Honourable members against the motion, please raise your hands. Okay. This is now Samson. You are only entitled to one vote. Too. Okay. So thank you very much. So you can now put down your hands. Honourable members, at the end of voting, the ayes 3 votes, the nays 4 votes. Therefore, the motion does not carry. The motion does not carry.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, honourable members, for voting on the motion. Yes, honourable Majority Leader, indications for adjournment.
Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. Yes, I have no other business for us to transact or to be transacted. So, with the exception that minority hasn't referred to the House today, we are being elected to legislate and legislate well. And so I don't see their position by being influenced by their party and their opposition. Must they oppose to everything? Must they oppose to everything? Because I don't understand the reason why my minority would oppose this motion. And just because I don't have the numbers to transact business today, they make my work very difficult. And so I'm not also in a very good mood today.
Honourable Leader, are you calling for another line of voting?
No, Speaker. I'm not calling for voting.
So you are
All
really
I'm saying, yes, I'm lamenting because I don't understand that the minority being elected will now come and be doing the bid of the opposition. Must they oppose to everything? Every motion brought to the House by the majority. And so I will say shame unto the minority, Mr. Speaker. Shame unto the minority. And so, Mr. Speaker, I'm very much disappointed in them. However, I respect the decision and then still hold on to our democratic principles, and therefore I will end it. I rest my case.
Thank you very much. I was thinking you moved the motion for adjournment as well.
Mr.
Okay,
Speaker,
so
is that why you decided to vote for us as well?
having that said, let me proceed to move for adjournment in the absence of no further deliberation at exactly 6:50 p.m. I therefore move that this House stand adjourned till next sitting. I so move.
Thank you very much. Minority Leader, secondment.
Thank you very much, the wisest chair. And I want to even use the opportunity to thank all minority members. They've really shown that, yes, aside from the potential, they have the capacity as well to exhibit it. And that is developmental asset. And so there is no shame to us at all. We are shining. And on that note, I like to second the motion for adjournment until our next sitting. Thank you very much, the wisest chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable. Honourable members, motion moved and seconded for adjournment. I put the question to the House. All members in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Not in favor of the motion say nay. Honourable members, I think the ayes have it. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The motion carries. Yes, do you want to challenge the vote?
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Speaker, this is not on the motion. This is for adjournment, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. You want me to put the question again? Okay, I'll put the question again.
Is for adjournment, right?
Yes, it's on adjournment. I'll put the question again. Honourable members,
their mistakes will expose them by time.
Honourable minority. All members in favor that this house do not adjourn, say aye. Not in favor of the motion, say nay. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The motion carries. Therefore, this house is accordingly adjourned to the next sitting to be scheduled by leadership. Thank you very much. You have a nice day.
Yeah.
Yeah.